Hey, this is Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling with Platinum Against Impact. This is from October 28th, 2021, and let me tell you something. What a difference a locale makes. We're at Sam's Town in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, there are a lot of things that look similar, but I think the way that they're lighting it differently, darkening the crowd, the energy from the crowd. There's a problem that I've had with Impact, and yes, you know how I do. I'm going to talk about this kind of stuff more than I am about who beat who in a wrestling match, right? Because it's important. Impact made an important move here. Now, I don't know the finances of it or anything like that. I would imagine doing the tapings in Nashville was a cost-saving measure in a lot of ways, and that is certainly important. However, there's something that we had at this Sam's Town taping that we haven't had an Impact. And it's one of these factors that you would not think about, but it is ambient noise. Their crowd was constantly making noise, and this affected everything in the best of ways. The Impact Zone, or whatever they want to call it, Nashville, would be pin drop quiet at times, which you think would be a good thing. When somebody's cutting a promo, it's pin drop quiet, there aren't people yelling and interrupting. Okay. The problem is the psychological effect when you're used to watching wrestling shows that have a constant din of noise because they have a crowd of a reasonable size. When you're doing a studio taping that already has the look of a black box theater, your thing just looks cut rate. There was a time at the beginning of the pandemic tapings when they had no crowd, which was the huge mistake that Impact made back then, having nobody in the audience. Where you would hear every squeak of the rope and the ring as it moved. That was death. Then they started putting in fake crowd noise, which wasn't much better, but it was something of an improvement. But then once they went back to having crowds, but in that space, that because they did those tapings at a ridiculous time, like in the afternoon or something. One, you just had neckbeards in the crowd, which in and of itself, it is what it is, but it's just not the sound you want. Now, even when they did the backstage promo with Eddie Edwards and all that kind of stuff, you could just hear a constant thing of noise. You knew there were people watching, observing, and interacting and reacting. And that's what wrestling really hinges upon. So it was just a better look and sound overall. Now, is that going to last? We'll have to see. But man, was it good. Moose kicked off the show, cut a promo, a very good one, sort of putting himself in the category of the other great champions in pro wrestling. I like that he just sort of embraced the, like, I did bad things to get this title. It's really, really interesting. Moose is about to address the locker room. Josh Alexander comes out, suplexes him. Minoru Suzuki comes out. Moose gets out of there, and Alexander turns his back on Suzuki, and a fight begins. And security comes to separate them all. Awesome stuff. Now, a disadvantage that Impact is always going to have is they're going to do stuff like this, and everyone's going to go, well, I know Suzuki already left. Is that the biggest deal? Not necessarily, but what it's going to do is it's going to inhibit Impact's ability to grow their audience beyond a certain point when people just know that these things are all taped. It's one of those things that's not going to have a direct effect, but it's just sort of compiled with other things is problematic. But it is what it is. Moose backstage says he fears no one in the locker room. Despite the target on his back, Matt Cardona comes out. They basically brawl and get separated. Match number 1 for the X Division Championship, Rocky Romero, New Japan fame against Trey Miguel. Good stuff. Meteor knee strike, Miguel wins. Very good match. After, he's attacked by Steve Macklin. Okay. We're, like I said, Impact feels like they're getting back to being Impact, whatever that means. They got a fresh start. Whoever's call it was to do Bound for Glory in a different location and then do the next series of tapings at least in a different location. It's brilliant. It's good. It feels fresh. It feels new. It feels like they've started over without having to declare this a season premiere or some other WWE nonsense. I really like it. We cut to Gia Miller backstage. She's with Jordan Grace, Rachel Ellering. Here comes Tasha Steele and Savannah Evans. Rachel notes that she and Tasha have a date tonight. Macklin makes it clear he wants the X Division title. Scott D'Amore is going to mull it over. Cardona and Edwards want a shot at Moose, but so D'Amore makes a match where it'll be Moose and two people he can get to find in a six-man against Alexander, Cardona, and Eddie Edwards. Interesting matches. And that's all set up for next week. Impact does a good job with that. Match 2, Tasha Steele, Rachel Ellering. Rachel hits a backslide off of the cutter attempt by Steele and wins. Morrissey is an Impact to make friends, but he talks about how Moose kind of screwed him over in their alliance. Morrissey wants a title shot. Moose comes in and grants it. Interesting that they're going to have Moose be this like heel but fighting champion. I guess it's their way of putting some respect on that title. I get that. Wow, I sounded so old person trying to sound young. My bad. Gia Miller gets a few words with the Inspiration in their dressing room before she gets scooched off by the two Aussies. Bye. I want to hear them say my favorite words in their Australian accent, like abstract art. That is my favorite thing that Australians say. Abstract art. Match number 3, Joe Doring with Violence by Design versus Heath with Rhino at ringside. Lots of shenanigans happen. Rhino hits a dude. They get in the ring. Lots of stuff goes. Eventually, Eric is shown to be 100% healthy, that's for sure. He hits a top rope elbow on Rhino at one point, and then Joe Doring with the pile driver to Heath after the match. Joe Doring, it's really, really brutal, as it should be. It is a no contest because there's just too many shenanigans. Good Brothers, who I got to be honest about something. I'm super thrilled that they're not on AEW anymore. I thought they were sort of the weak link, but they work on Impact. They cut a promo. Gallus calls people nerds, Finn Juice. Gia Miller's with the Demon, who I'm shocked is going to hang around, but okay. She's about to get a word with him, but Johnny Swinger takes exception. Blah, blah, blah. Enter Decay. They scare Swinger off before Demon says he came to Impact because demons are welcome here. Aww. Mickie James comes out to celebrate with the fans. And long story short, Madison Rayne comes out with Caleb with a K. They kind of put up their credentials and then they're going to get a title shot. So Impact's thing is going to be our champions defend their titles. Okay. I also like that they don't have an overarching authority figure that constantly makes the matches. It happens on rare occasion, but for the most part, the guys kind of make their own matches. The people make their own matches. Main event is Ace Austin with Madman Fulton versus Chris Sabin. Very good match. Madman does trip up Sabin at the end, and then Austin hits his finish for the 1, 2, 3. But it's a very good episode of Impact. It's very hopeful, and I hope they continue this momentum.